Hello, hello, hello. It's Father Aaron, the Dungeon Minister. I should get close for that. The Dungeon Minister. It is Sunday night, late, and I am reflecting on CleriCon. And I'll do a more in-depth look back later. With all the thank yous, I want to make sure I line up my thank yous, because right now, anything between this ear and that ear is actually caramel and fudge. That's what it's made out of right now. So I'm not going to remember anything important. But I wanted to put a last wrap on this, and I'm sorry it's a little later than I wanted to wrap up, but just the way things worked out, this is when I can do it. Wow. This year's experience compared to the first year. The first year, everything was new, and I had no idea what to expect. And so, hey, Hungar, I know you well, Hungar, and there's going to be a spot open for you to DM or play as you choose, or just to sit there looking smart. I love it. I'd love to welcome you up if I could, and I look forward to it. But last year, everything was so new that everything was a surprise, right? This year, I had a little better idea what to expect. Not quite a good enough idea that I could head off, every problem. I knew they were coming, and then when they happened, I said, "Yep, there it is. I told you it was coming." But it was pretty good. We did a fair job, I think, at eliminating the worst bumps in the road, the worst disasters. We avoided most of that. And the energy was fabulous. The camaraderie, the friendship, the sort of openness, the, hey, Warrior King, thanks, it was awesome. People's... the thing that I noticed is, and I think I've probably said this on a live stream, but I don't remember if it was my own live stream or Paint Mini's live stream. People who sat down and within 5 minutes they were lifelong friends, like they'd known each other forever. Hello again, Bob. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. It was so good to see you at the con. I have you playing in the games. People would sit down next to people they just met, and they had a lingua franca, right? Even if they played different editions, they jammed to different versions of D&D or totally different systems. It didn't matter. They had a common understanding of what the good life was, to sit with friends, to create worlds and to inhabit them, to trust your fate to the roll of dice. It was really cool. As a parent, there's moments when I clock what one of my kids are doing, one of the boys are doing, and everything fills up inside, because they're accomplishing something, or they're being just good people, like Bob Johnny. He likes little kids, and there's a new baby. There's a couple, there's about 3 new babies in our parish. But one of them in particular, they sit right in front of our family. Sorry, I got something in my eye, and I did get something in my eye, in addition to tearing up because of my kids. But his family sits right in front of my family, when they're not up front doing something. And one day I come out of the vestry, which is right behind my family sits in the back pew, right in front of the vestry door, the back where I get ready. And hello again, Bob. And I come out of the door, and there's Bob Johnny holding this little baby, right? And the baby's adorable, round head, red hair, so it looks like a pumpkin, And the baby's like all happy, and Bob Johnny's all happy, and this is good. So I get this feeling So I'm dwelling on this. Looking out across the floor at con and seeing the YouTubers whose channels I watch, and the non-YouTubers, the people who they don't have an online profile or anything, but I know, Justin's game is good. I know Chris plays a good game. I know that these people, that they're legit, right? And seeing them and seeing the friendships and seeing the people laughing together and seeing them just enjoying each other's company and the game they're sharing, I had that same parental feeling, like, wow, because you have kids and you teach them things and then they learn them and they do them and it's cool. And you put on this convention and you open the space and you say, well, I hope people come and have fun. And then they do, right? Like, awesome DMs come and run fabulous games and the players come with their A game and they're going to, and it's great. It really is great. Yeah. So that was the biggest takeaway for me this year. And I felt it last year, but I've been able to sort of chew on it and put it into context. It really is that sort of almost parental feeling, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. Exactly what I wanted to happen. I wanted people to come together, have fun, make friends, and we had vendors, artists, and game designer, and Paint Minis Live, who painted some minis. And one of them, it's a take home for me, and I don't know how well this is going to show up on my webcam, which is like the $25 Amazon special, but it shows up pretty well, actually. I have no idea what this is. If you know what this is, let me know. I think someone told me when it was given to me, and you know what? I honestly, and I'm very sorry, I don't remember who gave it to me. It may have been in the box of minis that Grumpy Old Slan sent to me, but I don't know, because it was a long while ago. I've had this for a long time, and I stuck him onto a base. He wasn't on a base. I stuck him on a base. It's like a Zorn variant. Okay. Thank you, Gamer D20. Hey, Dungeon Delver. Hello, Michael. At any rate, I stuck him on this base, and he sat there gray and unpainted. He actually was on my desk here for the longest time. And when Paint Minis Live showed up at the border, and they told him he couldn't bring any minis into Canada because the 24 minis he was bringing was going to overturn the Canadian economy. That's right. That's how fragile things are up here right now. Send help. Anyway, he had no minis to paint, and like kind of that's his thing. He wants to be painting minis while people are at the con and can watch him. And I said, you know what? I've got a pile of shame. We all have a pile of shame, right? And I knew I wasn't gonna like paint this ever. I wouldn't even have the foggiest idea. I knew it was going to stay unpainted forever. And so I grabbed that and a few other things. I didn't just give him this weird thing, the giant and a bunch of goblins and stuff like that. I said, just go to town, whatever this you want, and then it's yours. Keep it, right? But maybe because it has a face only a mother could love. Ooh. When he left, he said, no, you keep that. And I think he was just afraid of what his family would say if he came back with one of these, or what kind of trouble he'd get in with the Canadian border guard if he had this. Anyway, I'm not reading comments. I'm playing with puppets. So that's pretty cool. Pardon me. Was Bear as grumpy as he seems on YouTube? Hungar, don't let Bear hear me say this. He is a lovely, warm-hearted, gentle, and generous man. He has a wicked sense of humor. He likes to tell a story, and he's funny as hell. But no, he's a lovely man. He's not grumpy at all. Maybe he's grumpy. Maybe I just am fine with grumpy. I know who isn't grumpy is Grumpy Old Slan. He's a gentle, sweet man, very kind soul. Yeah. Yeah, you looked like you had some serious fun. Serious fun. I know that's a silly sound, but that you had some good stuff going on. And you had the father-son duo, didn't you? They look like they're having a good time. Hey, Nordic Maelstrom, I'm doing pretty darn good. I'm exhausted, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good. A pile of shame is what speed painting is for. Oh, God bless you, Warrior King. My version of speed painting is I get it done in 3 weeks. Okay. What's Ye Olde Geek like in person? I was just telling some people on the online game, because there were at the last minute some online games were organized, and next year, I know I don't have the brain power to do the in-person and the online at the same time. Next year, Tonka Todd is going to organize. I think I leaned on him, and now I'm putting public pressure on him. You can say no, but I'm going to try to get someone to organize an online con at the same time. But I was telling someone on there that he is a very lovely person. He's British, of course, so polite to a fault. Very friendly, very mild, understated. We were playing Call of Cthulhu, though, and we'd faffed around trying to fix a car and all this, because it's an open world, and you're going wherever. But once we got in to the place where the horror was, it's like a switch flipped. And he went from doing spot on and hilarious Northern British accents, it's up the road. It's up the road. He switched, and there was an intensity. And I don't think he'll mind me saying this. He's not a tall man. He's not an imposing figure, but he was frightening. Okay, he was frightening with a smile, with that same sort of, friendly smile. He was terrifying. Just finished sorting the counters for Barbarossa Army Group Center 1941 from GMT Games, planning to learn and play the Eastern Front series for the remainder of the year. Man, that sounds serious. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds like Axis and Allies on steroids. That's what that sounds like. That sounds pretty cool. I always thought that, like, Risk was Stratego on steroids, and Axis and Allies is Risk on steroids, and that sounds like Axis and Allies on enough steroids to get them kicked out of the NFL. Pretty cool. And I have to mention Kevin from the Red Caps podcast. Find it, listen to it. It's awesome. He let slip that he was on his way down to the U.S., down to specifically Milwaukee and Madison. He was going down for Gamehole Con, Gary Con, something like that. And I loved it too, Hungar. And Bob did not lose the dwarf. He didn't lose the dwarf, unless he killed someone at his own table. He let slip that he was going down. Kevin did, and I said, "Hey, while you're down there, get me some Gardettos, please. Gardettos snackins. I'm joking, like, do some shopping for me." And he says, "What are they?" And I said, "Gardetto snackins." And okay, and explain them. And he brought back 3 family-size bags. 3 family-size bags. Yeah. Absolutely fabulous. Now, my family are all asleep right now. And as far as they know, Kevin brought me back 2 family-sized bags. Okay? And you're not saying anything. None of y'all are saying anything. Got it? All right. How'd the trivia go? I did answer this, and you complained about them being weak. People said that the answers to the Greyhawk stuff, that the AD&D stuff, was easier. They didn't necessarily do any better mathematically, though, because my Beckme questions were really hard. Like, one of them was, how many water termites are described in the expert manual Dungeon Master section? How many? And I listed options. Can't you tell Touchberry hunger? And by the time he finds out, there will be shoe bags. The garlic. I asked in the basic box set, player's manual, the first solo adventure, what is the constitution score of the fighter that you play? I don't know what got into me. I asked a question about the chalice of colors from the Book of Marvelous Magic, what effect it had. So I asked when they introduced the idea of levels, they say you shouldn't say I'm a second level thief. You should say, hi, I am, Philly. I am named the Footpad. And I asked, yes, 16 con. And I said, what is the name they use for the thief? What name example do they use for the thief? And part of this is, I was thinking about it because Fleetwood, my eldest, plays Fleetwood the elf in our game. Well, Fleetwood is the example name for the fighter in that book. And Touchberry is the example name for the halfling in that book. Bob Johnny's not a example name for anything. Hello, John. I do love some Snyder's. I've had the honey mustard pretzel bites from Snyder's of Hanover. They are good. These are better. I'm just saying. The mustard, they're good. But the great thing is the magic user's example name is Felonious. And that sounds like a thief's name, a felon, right? I'm doing something felonious. And but it's not. It's Gregan. Gregan is the name. And very few people got that right. I'm not eyeing anything. Bob, I only saw you lose one dwarf. Me, Felonious Monk. Now, see, a man with a sense of humor introducing the monk class would use that name just to be silly. I gotta tell you, I think someone at the con made that same pun, John, so. Or was it you? When I was in university, the vending machine in my dorm had the snack-sized bags of Snackins. Half of my student loans went to that. Hello, Glenn in Australia. You know what? That's the beauty of things being archived. I didn't do nearly as many live from the floor of con as I hoped to do. You get to run on the thing. It's like, it's always keeping plates spinning. Not that things were going badly and I needed to put out fires. It was just, this table of no one's got any pencils. You got to grab some pencils, and we need this printed out. Well, I'm the guy who has the printer, and so off to the printer, right? And that's just what you expect. And I have to tell you, I love it. If I have got a job to do, a useful thing to do that'll help other people's thing go more smoothly, I love that. Sometimes I think I miss my calling as a butler. Because I love it to be just boom, It never is when I'm doing it. When I'm doing it, it's not, smooth butler, Anthony Hopkins in Remains of the Day. It's Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, That's more like me, but anyway. We did have an elf, and he shot his friends twice. I think I'm twice. I'm pretty sure. No. Sorry. The cleric with a sling stone got someone, and then the elf got someone else. You know. You lost one in Daniel's game? Oh, well. I don't know. Maybe we need to put like one of those air tags on Bob's dwarfs so that he can find them again, doesn't lose them. Any good halfling stories? We had a pair of halflings. It's a real life husband and wife. Played halflings. There weren't any like specifically halflingy things that stood out. Oh, Nordic. I mean, come on. That's oof. No, the friends hit the elf shot he did. He shot a dwarf. Yeah, he did, didn't he? It was Chris. He shot Chris. The beautiful thing about this, and I told it in one of the short live streams, but I'll tell it again because it's funny. The cleric had blessed the party before combat. These spiders were coming out of the canopy of the fort. They were in a karst, karst where it's like if a cave formed at the surface instead of underground. And so it's open to the air, but it's the same erosion that happens to form a cave. And there's these pillars of jagged rock everywhere. But at the top of them, and the ones that came to a flat top, the trees were growing over and overhanging everything. So there was this almost cave. And they were in there. The spiders were dropping down. And so the cleric blessed everyone. So when it comes time for the elf to shoot later in the combat, and he rolls a 1, and I give it a percentile chance based on the geography of if he's going to hit a friend, if there's nobody around. But if he's shooting into melee, which he was, okay, and yeah, you're going to hit your friend. Roll the damage and add 1 because you've been blessed. And I don't know if maybe the blessing should have taken 1 off because it's a blessing, not a just, well, there you go. But it was funnier if you added it. The other good moment was when one of the dwarfs threw a flask of oil at a big spider they met in the forest and rolled the 20. Perfect hit. The vial smashes, oil all over the thing, right? It is as perfect as it gets, natural 20. So then comes a magic user who's holding a torch. I'll throw the torch at it, right? And he rolls, and we're all watching this thing. I mean, those of us, it's a big table. It's 10 people playing. So those of us are close enough, though. And his dice rolls, and it gets, there it is, on the 20. And then it falls to 2. Like it's just there. It's a 20. It pauses just long enough for us to say, and then, bing, and the whole table just, yeah. It was brilliant. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So, Touchberry did not start any fires. Touchberry's involvement in the story, because my game started at 8 o'clock. It went till 11:30, something like that. Touchberry's involvement in the story was that as an NPC, they encountered them at the beginning, and then they went off on their adventure, and the NPCs went a different direction. Ye be cursed. A curse a lot of ye. Arr. Okay. Anyway. Oh, that's not good. It tastes like university. Never mind. Anyway. Come on, Nordic, you're killing us here. You're killing me, Smalls. Well, this all went well. And I have to say I am humbled. Sorry, I'll chew first. Talk later. Now, I know that I and my convention aren't the only reason for these people traveling. They had their own things going on, meeting up with friends. But the fact that John, ye old geek, flew from the United Kingdom through Iceland to Canada to attend CleriCon. Now, he hung out with Mage's Musings ahead of time and with the Tale of the Manticore. I'm using their channel names because if I said Sean and John, you'd say who? He hung out with those guys, went up in the CN Tower, saw Niagara Falls, not from the tower. It's tall, but not that tall. They did the stuff, the tourist stuff. Played in a lot of games before the con. But I mean, the con was the sort of inciting. It was the excuse that got him here, right? That Bear, who, says, I don't like gatherings. That's what he told us, right? And he came from Montreal along with Slan, grumpy old Slan, right? That they made that drive. That Paint Minis Live hauled butt from Minnesota, 1,000 miles approximately, right? Oh, Ongar, we know if you could, you would. Yeah, we know if you could, you would, and we would. Good Lord, it would be rock star treatment, dude. It'd be awesome, John. That'd be awesome. Yeah, we put it where we put it, and it's sort of partly. I looked around at what was happening here, and I avoided landing on things that were happening locally. There's a lot of stuff in sort of the summer, September, because it's Canada. You don't want to travel in, late October. Actually, it's beautiful right now. But what was I saying again? I'm so tired. Yeah, we put it where we put it because it works around here. And although the YouTube thing does reach across the globe and everyone, the reality is over half of the people there obviously are coming from within a couple hours drive. Although there were people who came. Matthew came from north of Timmins, Ontario. So I want you to go to Google, don't use a different tab, okay? Use a different tab. Go to Google Maps, look up Glen Williams, Ontario, and then do, directions to Timmins, Ontario. And then understand that he's like at least an hour north of that. Oh my. Hello, Elder Goblin Games. How are things? Did you get the younger Goblin Games tucked into bed? Yeah, I tell you, the opening night of CleriCon, and this man who I'd never met in person before, but I knew what he looked like, comes up with 3 bags of Gardettos. I almost kissed him. Every man has his price, and mine is Gardettos. Snackins. Now, anyway, it was absolutely humbling that people were willing to do that, And it was sad to hear the people who were here last year who really loved it. And they were like, I'm coming back next year. And every year you do it. And, life intervened and they couldn't, and it's just, none of us lives in a vacuum. We all live in a context. And one guy who was, hardcore and tasty cakes, I can take leave. Sorry, not my thing. You know what I could? Cinnamon Pop-Tarts. They have Pop-Tarts here, but they're like strawberry or blueberry or chocolate. They don't have any. I can't find. Once I found at a convenience store in our little town here, they had a box of cinnamon Pop-Tarts. I bought it. I've gone back. It's like something that fell off the back of a truck, right? Maybe they can't spell cinnamon in French. I don't know. The joke being they can't make the box. Never mind. So Hungar, if you're bringing it, KFC will do. They do have good hearing. But I'm pretty sure by midnight they're gone to sleep. But anyway, it was accident in Quebec. They were talking about that, actually. Speaking of bear, he had an interesting, he was pointing out that because Quebecois French is an older form of French, in France, and I don't speak French, so I'm just going to have to say the translation. In France, when we would say you lock the door, they say you lock the door. In Quebec, they say you bar the door. Even when they're talking about a key in a lock, they say you bar the door, because that's what you did. People didn't have on all, some doors maybe, but mostly not. Stick a thing, big plank behind it, right? Turning on the lights is interesting. We'd say turn them on. French, you open the light. And I don't know if that goes back to gaslight. In Quebec, you ignite. You light the light. Older style of French, which I think is pretty cool. That's a neat little story. Anyway, there it is. I should have enough garlic in me to drive off a vampire by the time this is done. But it is time for bed for you. Hey, you have a good night. And I was about to say, speaking of going to bed, I should probably hit the hay myself. Right, because Louisiana were brought down from New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. There is still the Acadian coast in Nova Scotia. It's beautiful, on St. Mary's Bay. And these massive churches. I mean, they're truly, at least two of these things near the north end, early along the stretch, two of these massive churches. And, a handful of Acadians to support them. It's not big. But beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And these houses, huge rambling houses on a piece of property that slopes down to St. Mary's Bay, which is this lovely, narrow bay on the western side of Nova Scotia. Cute, gorgeous. Anyway, I'm going to go to sleep. Oh, no. I'm going to bathe. I've been sleeping in my office for 2 nights. I'm going to bathe. Now I'm going to go to bed. So, just wanted to say hello to everyone. Give you a few final on the day notes of how things went. And incidentally, the online game appeared to go very well. I lurked for bits of it. It was going well after the in-person con wrapped up. Tonka Todd was leading Wildland. It seemed to go pretty well, too. They were having fun. So, all bonuses. You guys have yourselves a good night. And hold your snackins tight. And I will see you on the other side. Ciao.